Hey guys, so I went to the plastic surgeon and it was mind-blowing for me, totally self-imposed mind-blowingness, because I had done a lot of research about reconstructive surgery and the options. And so being a, reasonably intelligent person who can, understand options and make decisions and agency and all of that, I decided what kind of reconstructive surgery I was going to have. And I left there with like, what? How did this happen? How did I get to a whole different thing? So there are, generally speaking, two different types of reconstructive surgery. Well, three. Well, two. I guess one isn't reconstructive because you could stay flat. Then under the reconstructive surgery options, and staying flat is an option, and some women choose that. And there's a whole advocacy that I'm learning around making sure that doctors are offering that as a viable option to women. So rather than pushing reconstruction. So I have decided on reconstructive surgery, but under the reconstructive surgery, there are, let's call it, two umbrellas. There's implants, and then there are two types, silicone and saline. And then there's using your own tissue and fat and skin that normally comes from your stomach, or if you don't have enough, if you're small and don't have enough stomach tissue and fat, well, I don't have that problem, okay? Then they also can take it from your butt or your back. I think I mentioned that in a previous video. But the ways in which that surgery, that reconstructive surgery happens, there are different types. So there are 2 or 3 different ways to do that type of reconstructive surgery. So without getting all clinical about it, let's just call it that umbrella, DEEP, DIEP. I can't tell you what that stands for, but DEEP. So 2 options for reconstruction: implants or DEEP. I had already decided against implants because I felt like silicone was bad, and I didn't have an opinion about saline other than I think I had read several places that it doesn't it won't feel as real to me. I'm not sure. I think that was what I remembered. But DEEP, using my own tissue, my own skin, would feel, I had come to the conclusion or read that it would feel realer for me. And it's all about me. It would feel more natural. Anyway, that's the decision I had come to. I did have a question for the plastic surgeon, and that is, everything I read was taking the tissue and whatnot from my stomach. And listen, I have fat underneath my arms that I would love to get rid of. So, like the wings, they call it. So I asked the doctor, can you take it from under my arms? He said, that's an interesting question. Nobody's ever asked that before. And I don't think so, because I don't think there's enough volume in that skin there to do that, and you would be a guinea pig, and I would not do that. So fine, park that for purposes of reconstruction. But I'm not normally into cosmetic surgery, but as long as I'm going to be put in your notes, and I think it's, the clinical name is brachioplasty, so you should do that as well. But at any rate, I left out of there with, now the plan is silicone breast implants. How did we get there? So one, he said, because I'll have to have radiation, and radiation can damage skin. It burns, it can make it hard or leathery, it can do damage to your skin. He said I would not want to do the DEEP immediately, at least, because if it damages, if your skin gets damaged in radiation, then I have nowhere to get the skin from. Now I've damaged good skin, and he said, I think that's criminal to do that. So I don't recommend that. And he said, so implants, at least temporarily, but I think, you'd be happy with them, and we'd want you to be fully healed from the mastectomy if if you did come back and want the deep. But I think that silicone implants would be best. That's the most popular. Women have good experience with it. I was like, silicone? And now I'm thinking, where'd this doctor come from? Are you a real doctor? That's trash. Like, silicone is bad. They blow up, they leak, they rupture. I don't know, all the things that you've heard about silicone. And then he's looking at me like, are you stupid? That was back in the 80s or 90s. Like, we don't have these problems anymore. So he and I are like, he was very nice, right? And I was nice to him. But what was going through my mind, and I'm sure what was going through his mind, especially because I said, well, I've been researching this. And he's like, I'm sure he was thinking, well, have you been researching, and what were you researching, and what were you reading? But anyway, his point was that back in the day, in the 80s, the 90s, silicone was bad. It was doing all these bad things, but now they know, and it's not doing bad things, and it's good, and it looks and will feel more natural to me. And I said, yeah, but what about saline? Why would you not recommend saline? And he said, well, for one thing, you'll be able to feel the sloshing. And I was like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? Oh, okay. So no sloshing. I don't want to walk around sloshing. So implants, silicone, instead of the deep surgery. So what was my lesson walking away from that? What am I learning about coping with cancer? And I think the biggest lesson for me that day was to not be so invested. I mean, I was deeply invested. I deeply invested with deep because I had read all about it, and this is the thing, and this is it. And so I'm already in my feelings because I have cancer, and my anxiety is high, and it's nerve-wracking, it's scary, it's all the things. And so having information and making decisions, helps me to feel more in control of something that's very much out of my control. And so I got so deeply invested in the type of reconstructive surgery that I was going to have that it was, it sent my anxiety shooting up, and I was discombobulated, and it took me probably the rest of that day to get myself together and calm down. Another thing about the two surgeries is that the reconstructive surgery said already will take 3, 4, 5 hours. The implants will be about 45 minutes, whereas the deep surgery would add another 3, 4, 5 hours onto the surgery. That's a long surgery. It's a harder recovery because it's 2 major surgeries, right? There's the really probably 3, I guess, because you could count the mastectomy, the double mastectomy as 1, the deep as 2, and the reconstructive surgery sort of at 3. And then I said, actually, when I told him I still want the brachioplasty, which is the removing tissue from under my arm, even if you can't use it for the breast reconstruction, just getting rid of those fatty wings under my arm. It's called a brachioplasty. I still want that. And he said, I don't recommend that. I recommend that we do that separately because that's a lot of surgery. Now, if you just insist on it, we can do it, but your whole body's going to be on fire if you do that. That's a lot of surgery to be healing from. So let's do the brachioplasty when you've healed from the mastectomy. So very interesting. I've also now, for the first time, had pictures standing topless, pictures taken of me. That was a little disconcerting too, in many ways. and it's headless. So, so nobody but me will know it was me. But I was looking at the nurse like, "You want to take pictures?" And she was like, "Yes." And I thought, well, okay, I guess that makes sense because that's how I looked at other before and after pictures of other women. It's all, sometimes I think it's all, like my mind is just going crazy, but I'm just telling you all the things that are in that mind of mine and how I'm processing and receiving and coping, how I'm coping with cancer. So, lesson learned, do my research. Information is good. And use that information to inform the questions that I ask versus um, using that information alone to decide about, and therefore this is what I'm going to do because I'm in charge of my body and I will work with my doctors, but ultimately these are my decisions. But getting so sorry for the loud truck. I don't know who it is. They need a muffler. um, so that's the lesson. I've got to be open and more curious and less decisive and definitive about how this journey is going to go because I really am not in control of it, and I am having to trust doctors. And if you remember, this is my third team. I had the original team. I went and got a second opinion at Northwestern and was going to use Northwestern, and then I moved to Atlanta. And so these are the third people that I've consulted with. I feel really good about the surgeon and the oncologist. I'll tell you one more thing about the plastic surgeon that my sister and I were laughing about, because when I left the office, I went and read all about him on the website. And then I saw that he graduated with his bachelor's degree in 2011. So I backed off 4 years and said, okay, he graduated from high school in 2007. My oldest son, Skylar, graduated high school in 2008. So this dude is 1 year older than my kid and wants to do surgery on me. And I was like, do we have somebody who, I don't know how old they need to be. And I thought, that's terrible, Tracy. Like, why are you hating on millennials? I'm not. I just had a moment. And so I had a moment where I felt like, I can't let a millennial do this major surgery on me. And then I got myself together and read more about him. And he also said he does all of his surgeries with another doctor, and I looked at that doctor who's highly experienced. So I think there's something there where, he's board eligible, not board certified yet. So that's another thing. I think that probably he has to do surgeries with a board certified, or they're making that happen. It made me feel better. Whatever the reason is that, and so I'm now like, I need to meet the surgeon that he'll be in there supervising or helping or whatever. So we'll make that happen. I have time. So that was my visit to the plastic surgeon, and the lesson for that moment in coping with cancer for me: be invested in the information and be curious, and do not be vested in making hard decisions without hearing the medical side or hearing from the doctor. Like, I'm going to go in and tell the doctor, no, this is what's happening. And I think there's a place for that, but there's sometimes you need to listen. So right now, I'm still thinking, but I don't want to radiate good skin and mess up good skin. And so it does make sense to do the implants first. And even if later I want to come back and do the deep surgery, at least I've got good skin left to do it. And let's see what radiation does. But I should know the course of treatment in the next few days. And, like, am I even doing surgery first? Remember, I have to get the results of that mammogram print, and which will tell me whether to do chemo first or surgery. So more to come. Thanks, guys, for watching. It really means a lot to me because it is a circle of support, whether we talk or not. Just knowing that there are people who are taking this journey with me is helpful. So talk to you later. Bye.